What's up, everyone? Do you want to recover better so you can ride faster? Does it seem like the group ride has gotten faster while you've gotten slower? I'm Coach Frank, and in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 recovery metrics I use as a master's athlete and as a coach to train harder, recover better, and ride faster. Recovery is when the magic from the training happens, and the 5 metrics I pay attention to are sleep, HRV, my optimized score, feel, and power output. Now, who can guess which of those 5 is the most important? Vote in the comments below and listen to the end to hear my opinion and rationale. Now, let's go through the science and some good numbers for you to strive for, and then I'll rank each of these 5 key metrics so you can prioritize them for your recovery. To start, my go-to tools are my Apple Watch. I pay attention to total sleep and my overnight HRV. Whoop, Aura, Garmin, Fitbit, just about any wearable out there is really good at tracking total sleep and overnight HRV. I've tested and I've worn them all both often at the same times. They by and large are going to generate the similar numbers and they're going to be useful for you for tracking your recovery. Pay attention to total sleep as opposed to sleep stages, REM, and deep sleep. Researchers have shown that total sleep is more robust and consistently associated with recovery, athletic performance, and injury prevention. Researchers have also looked at various consumer devices and found lots of noise and mixed results compared to laboratory grade measurements. So controlling REM and deep sleep is also next to impossible. And besides, the landmark study on sleep from Walsh et al. Concluded, and I quote, "Sleep duration is the most robust and consistently reported sleep parameter associated with recovery, athletic performance, and injury prevention." Less than 6 hours of sleep is not good, while more than 8 is exceptional. I bet most of us fall between 6 to 8 hours per night, and that on a consistent basis works. Now, if you're trying to improve your recovery, if that's what you're here for, think in terms of going to bed 15 to 30 minutes earlier each night for the next 4 weeks. Track your total sleep hours on a weekly basis and see if you're not feeling better when you wake up, better on the bike, and then sleeping more obviously is going to be the results that you can show from that. Now, speaking of feeling better, and we'll get into that in a minute, but the next is HRV. And by HRV, I'm talking about your overnight HRV, or in other words, an average of your HRV measurements taken all night while you sleep. And a higher HRV indicates you're better recovered, while a lower HRV indicates you're less recovered. Now, the 2013 Plews et al. Study, Heart Rate Variability in Elite Endurance Athletes, Autonomic Adaptations and Implications for Monitoring Training, published in the Journal of Sports Medicine, really put HRV on the map in terms of HRV-guided training load for coaches, as well as for companies like Whoop and Aura. However, HRV-guided training has largely been debunked in the field, as athletes would always be resting as opposed to following a well-designed training plan that balances training load and recovery. Pay attention to your trends here, not your single overnight values. You can have great workouts following a low overnight HRV reading. We use a 7-day trend in the FasCat app, and we let you know when you're above or below your baseline ranges. And this removes any false alarm positives from a single day high or low value. The Plews study also found that athletes with a more stable HRV baseline had better long-term performance trends. So pay attention to it, but don't go so far down the HRV rabbit hole. It's really hard to control. And bonus trick, if you're looking for to hack your HRV, consume 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight and see if that doesn't improve your HRV over the next 4 weeks. In other words, drink a lot of water. It really helps your HRV. Now, the third metric I use and recommend is the optimized recovery score. And that's what you see here. This combines your sleep, your HRV, and your OTS. OTS is a measurement of how much work and how much stress your body incurred from your power data, from your workouts the day and the days before. Now, every morning, FasCat combines all 3 of those, and it gives you your recovery score. A greater than 120 means you're not fully recovered, and values between 60 and 120 mean you are recovered. I have a 90 here. That means I'm fully recovered. I'm ready to go, and that makes sense because I took a rest day yesterday. Strive to be in the green about 3 to 4 times per week, and strive to be in the red the other 3 to 4 times a week. You need to go into the red in order to force the physiological adaptations, but you want to verify that after your recovery days, you come back up in the green. So it's go in the red from training, go back up into the green from recovering. And the optimized metric helps you manage and see that from the intake of your power data and your wearable data. Stay tuned for a future video explaining the optimized recovery score in more detail. From now, I just recommend tracking it to learn about the relationship between how much training you did to how much recovery you've achieved and how those spell out to the recovery sensations you feel on the bike, which is the next metric, feel. How you feel is something that we as coaches ask athletes all the time when analyzing their power data and reading their comments. Feeling good while riding is a phenomenal metric to track. Not feeling good from riding is also meaningful. And we're not talking about the happy or sad type of feels, although those are important too, but for different reasons. We're talking about the sensations in your legs while you're producing power. You get these sensations in the first 5 minutes of your ride when you're warming up, and also in the first 30 seconds of going hard during your intervals. You also get them towards the end of your workout where you're like, I feel fine. I didn't even feel like that was a hard workout. That's meaningful sensations to track. And so to put those numbers to sensations, we use RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being as hard as you can go and 0 being so easy that you don't even feel like you're pedaling. And then to associate some RPEs with zones, zone 2 is 3 to 5, tempo and sweet spot are about 5 to 6, threshold is 7 to 8, VO2 max is a 9, and an all-out full gas effort is a 10. Except now when you're doing your efforts, a VO2 and a threshold and an anaerobic effort, they should start out at 7 to 8 and 9, but they decouple as the length of that effort goes on. They should all finish at a 10. And then as it relates to how you're, like, just using sweet spot as an example, sweet spot has an RPE of 5 to 6. If you start off and your RPE feels like an 8 or a 9, that means you're not recovered. Now, conversely, if your sweet spot feels like a 4, that means you're really recovered, you're feeling really good, and we don't really need to tell you that because you're feeling it. And that's a great metric to track. Most of the time, those sweet spots should be about a 5 to a 6. So paying attention to your RPE at various wattages and intensities is an incredibly important metric to track as it relates to your recovery. You expect to feel good following your rest days and expect to feel even better after your rest weeks. Similarly, expect to feel less good on the second or third consecutive workout or ride or race, and that's okay. That's just how the training goes. As a coach, when we ask athletes, how are you feeling? One of the things I'm looking for is to manage their training load based on what they're reporting from their feeling. But they keep saying, this is a little secret. Athletes, if you keep telling your coach you're feeling good, a good coach is going to make that training harder and harder in order to find the perfect balance of training and recovery. So it's really important to report back how you're feeling. As soon as you report back, oh man, I'm really tired, then coach knows the training volume is about spot on, and then not to push you even harder. Now, on the other hand, if an athlete keeps reporting back they're not feeling good, I'm going to adjust the training volume down lower to help balance the amount of training to recovery. So it's really important to monitor your training on a day-to-day basis when you're really training hard, when you're pushing the envelope, trying to achieve the most physiological adaptations you possibly can get. So the fifth and the final metric to track for recovery is your power output. The relationship between perceived exertion and power output serves as a key indicator of neuromuscular recovery and readiness to train. This is a dual tracking metric, how you feel while making the prescribed power output. When you have good sensations at 250 watts followed by a rest day, you can surmise that you're recovered. And then when you do not have good sensations at 250 watts following a rest day, you can surmise that you're not recovered. And that means things. You just needed more time, especially for older athletes like us masters. You can simply track, I felt good, or I did not feel good, or I felt medium. neither good nor bad. For the most time, think of it like a bell curve. 20% of the time you're going to feel really good, 20% of the time you're going to feel really bad, and then 60% of the time you're going to be in that bell curve, you're going to feel about medium. And that's when you're in days 2 and 3 of your training blocks. But it's especially important to track following your rest days, such as Tuesdays and Saturdays. And if you're not feeling good on Tuesdays and Saturdays, that means you need more recovery. Really important. So you need to adjust your training or your training before then. Okay, those are my 5 recovery metrics. Which one is the most important? Did you vote in the comments? All right, drum roll, please. Blah, 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 blah. Now, for me, it's a tie between sleep and feel. Without quality sleep, I can already predict how you're going to feel. I know you're going to be tired, you're going to be sluggish, you're going to be under-recovered. I don't need Magic 8 Ball to tell me that. And if you do that on consecutive days, or that's a consistent part of your training, you're just going to not be getting as much out of your training as you possibly could. What you do on the bike is important, and what you do off the bike in the terms of how much you're sleeping is as important. And if you want to improve, try getting more sleep, hands down. That's the number one recovery metric that I track. Now, on the other hand, how you feel is also the best confirmation of all these metrics. If you're feeling good and you're belting out the power, I know all the other metrics are aligned. They're in sync. They're saying you're ready, you're recovered, let's go. Sleep and feel, they go hand in hand. I like to get them both. So those are my top 2 sleep metrics, and I can't decide on one. If you want a tiebreaker, let's go to the research, and research will solve it for us. They'll flat out say sleep is the single most important factor in recovery, and that how you feel, your perceived readiness, is often a more sensitive indicator than even your heart rate, your HRV or your power data. So when sleep and feel are aligned, you're truly recovered. I know that didn't break the tie, but the science corroborates what I am saying as well. Folks, there you have it. Sleep and feel, the 2 top recovery metrics to track. It's very simple. You don't even need a wearable, but they really help. They help you become aware of how much sleep you're really getting. You don't need to go so far down on the rabbit holes, sleep stages and REM and all these complicated HRV metrics. It's really use the metrics, but don't let them rule your training. Don't let the HRV guided training tell you to rest all the time. It really comes down to, are you making the power and are you feeling good while you're doing it? So that's the conclusion here. So I hope you enjoyed our top 5 recovery metrics. Let me know in the comments what's your best recovery metric and how you use feel, if you do that at all, or if I missed something. I'd love to hear and take your feedback from that. Hope you enjoyed our video. We got lots more plans. Until then, work hard, ride fast, have fun, and as always, FTFP.